I'm Kento Bento.
This video is made possible by Brilliant, a problem-solving website that teaches you to think like a scientist. The first 200 people to sign up at brilliant.org/KentoBento will get 20% off their premium subscription. In 1917, a Japanese army general by the name of Kuniaki Koiso wanted to connect Japan to the rest of Asia. He suggested the idea of building a grand tunnel from Japan all the way to Korea. Certainly a tremendous feat of engineering, and not just for that point in time. Over the next 100 years, through the various incarnations and despite the numerous proposals, the project never moved beyond conception. Today, as we know, there's still yet to be a tunnel or bridge connecting the two countries. But the question is, for how long? Just a reminder, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button to be part of our notification squad. Now, of the two options, a tunnel or a bridge was never truly considered, as sea traffic in the region was and is extensive. A fixed link connecting the two nations would cross that busy Korea Strait, where numerous international shipping lanes and passenger ferry routes pass through. Thus, whether it's the Korea-Japan Friendship Tunnel System, or the Japan-Korea Undersea Tunnel, or an underwater tunnel was simply the better option. Compared to air travel, having an accessible route by land is also going to save people a lot of money, especially when sending goods, which is why most companies tend to use sea routes, though that's still significantly more expensive than sending by land. The proposed tunnel would also serve a portion of the 20,000 people who travel daily between Korea and Japan. Ultimately, there would be an increase in economic activity for both countries, contributing to the economic development of the whole of East Asia. Now, when you think of an island country connecting to a continent, Japan's relation with the rest of Asia may come to mind, but for most, it's the UK and Europe. Just as Japan would need to connect to South Korea, the UK has already connected to France by way of the Channel Tunnel, or Channel. At 37.9 kilometers, the channel currently has the longest undersea portion of any tunnel in the world. If we consider the entirety of the tunnel, then we're looking at an even greater 50.5 kilometer link. But even that is short of the Seikan Tunnel, connecting the islands of Honshu and Hokkaido, which at 53.9 kilometers is overall the longest undersea tunnel in the world. Now, whichever measurement you go by, neither would even come close to the distance covered by the Japan-Korea Tunnel. There are three proposed routes, all starting at Karatsu in Saga Prefecture in Japan, connecting to Iki Island, then onto differing points on Tsushima Island. From there, two routes terminate at Goje Island in South Korea, with a third at Yeongdo, Busan, which, despite its length and suspect location, it passing through a seismic zone, is perhaps the favored option, as it would be close to the largest port in South Korea, the port of Busan, making this the most efficient and economically sound route. If completed, the tunnel will have an astonishing length of 230 kilometers, with just the undersea portion being approximately 145 kilometers. This is more than 4 times the length of the Channel, or the Seikan Tunnel. A high-speed rail along this route would connect Japan and Korea in just 50 minutes. If traveling from Tokyo to Seoul, a distance of 1,550 kilometers, it would take about 7 hours. Now, the cost of the Seikan Tunnel was $7 billion. The cost of the Channel, $21 billion. But the cost of anywhere from $111 billion to $157 billion. And it would take an estimated 15 to 20 years to complete. In my previous video on future events to happen in Asia, I had actually predicted this tunnel to be completed by the year 2040. If you want to check out that video, the link's down below. The viability of this project has been questioned from time to time, but the tunnel is purported to provide a savings of 30% in costs for transported goods, as well as making profit off toll charges paid by Japanese shippers sending cargo to the mainland. Add to that the 45,000 new jobs that would be created and the revival of the construction and tourism industries. Japan and South Korea have tended to favor large infrastructure projects, so the construction of this tunnel may seem like an inevitability. Any engineering challenges can also be met with existing technologies, so 100 years on, why isn't this a reality? Well, as some of you may know, there's something far more daunting than just the engineering aspect. Yes, There's the issue of rail gauges not matching up, safety concerns like tunnel fires, the threat of earthquakes, unauthorized immigration, Japan and South Korea driving on different sides of the road. But for all these, while not always perfect, there are solutions. Arguably the biggest issue of all is the historic psychological barrier between the two countries. Just about every neighboring country on Earth has, at one point or another, spilt blood over shared soil. Japan and South Korea are no different. For over 1,500 years, their relationship had been defined by cultural exchange, political contact, trade, and war. Now, more specifically, Japan's invasions of the peninsula in the 16th century, as well as the more recent colonization in the early 20th century, which ended with World War II, have produced a mistrust that has been hard to dispel by many Koreans. In many circles today, the very idea of a Japan-Korea tunnel has been met with suspicion and contempt. Some note having a fixed link to the mainland would help Japan greatly expand its economic and political influence well into the continent, while South Korea would have a disproportionate gain. Conversely though, while the increased rate of economic growth caused by the tunnel would be about 5% for Japan, Korea could see an increase of up to 150%. So there are differing angles to this. As such, the mayor of Busan, Seo Byung-soo, has shown support for the construction of the tunnel, despite receiving 30,000 angry messages from citizens calling him a traitor to Korea. Likewise, some in Japan have had similar reactions, so in order for this tunnel to be fully realized, both sides need to overcome this emotional hurdle. Now, all this may sound sort of familiar because this mirrors the story of the UK and France. Just like for Japan and Korea, their historical ties are long and complex. The French and English famously fought a 100 Years' War and are still today often referred to as rivals. There had long been talks of a cross-channel tunnel between the two countries, in fact as early as 1802, but social and political pressures had always halted attempts at construction. Yet, unlike their Asian counterparts, something changed along the way. The UK and France were able to overlook their historical divide with an agreement finally being formalized, and in 1994, the Channel Tunnel opened, signifying a major change in their relationship. Today, most agree that this was a positive change for both countries in many ways, as well as for the European continent. The breakdown of that psychological barrier was key to lifting the island mentality arguably held by both nations. Island mentality refers to the idea of isolated communities, to varying degrees perceiving themselves as different and special from the rest, with the term not necessarily referring to a physical or geographical confinement like an actual island, but more a cultural and ideological confinement of a nation's self. Japan and South Korea may need to lose elements of this mindset if they're to ever forge a physical link. And as the tunnel's been an important asset to the entire European Union's infrastructure, a Japan-Korea tunnel may also help establish some version of the East Asian community, a proposed trade bloc for East and Southeast Asian countries. It is essential for the project to gain support from the people of both countries. And really, despite the unhealed wounds from the past, Japan and South Korea have been allies in the face of other hostile nations. There is no better way to bring people together than to engage them in a project requiring all their efforts. This is a sentiment openly shared by 3 former South Korean presidents. At some point, the two countries will need to conclude a diplomatic accord on the best way to proceed with a tunnel, and it may even take a crisis to move it forward, such as the case with past infrastructure projects like the US Transcontinental Railroad launched during the American Civil War, the construction of the Panama Canal amid a revolution in Colombia, and of course, the Channel Tunnel at the height of the Cold War. Stability may not be conducive to mega projects. For the Japan-Korea tunnel, some have said China's increasing influence in the region may be that determining factor for greater cooperation between Japan and South Korea. It can make the project politically viable. Now, moving forward, a more ambitious ensuing plan may be the implementation of a rail and road link connecting Tokyo, Seoul, and Beijing. Though for this idea, there is a small issue of the route passing through this bit of land. While North Korea's role in all this is a topic for another video, the current easing of tensions may just be nudging this closer to reality. This could even set the stage for a trans-Eurasian route from Tokyo to London, neatly bookended by the Channel, and perhaps ultimately one day connecting to a trans-global highway. The construction of additional tunnels and bridges will be necessary for this grand vision, and fluid understanding of the laws of physics that both limit and enable the framework of human transportation, engineering, and infrastructure will be required. If you want to understand the science behind this, and I mean really understand it, then that will involve knowing concepts like the difference between bridge types, whether traffic jams move with or against the flow of traffic, and whether structures like these are doomed to crumble or stabilize. As much as we love explaining about Asia and the world around us, the best way to learn is by doing it yourself. Brilliant is a problem-solving website that teaches you to think like a scientist through interactive quizzes and courses that are designed to be interesting. Much like our videos, they take a problem, break them up into bite-sized pieces, present clear logic in each part, hopefully that's something we did too, and then build back up to an exciting conclusion. By going to brilliant.org/Kento Bento, you can get started for free. And if you're one of the first 200 people to sign up with the link below, you will receive 20% off your premium subscription. It's an incredibly engaging website, and by giving Brilliant a try, you will also be supporting us here at Kento Bento.